start it.
Yeah. No, we are officially live now. So
Awesome.
yeah, welcome
Cool.
guys to the Real Talk with Real Estate Investors show. Today we have Motil with us. He's a great guy, real estate investor, and I hope you guys are ready to get a lot of value out of this show because he's gonna drop some good information here that you guys can use in your business. So Trevor, Matt, welcome guys.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. Thanks for having me
Thanks
on.
for joining us, Matt. We
For
really
sure.
appreciate it.
So
Yes,
what's happening?
we wanted to have you on the show because obviously you've done a lot. Not just in the investment world, but obviously you're a best-selling author. You've helped folks all around the world. You've got a few different businesses, so I know you've got a ton of value and so forth that you can share with our audience today. We've got about 16,000 folks here in the group, and I'm sure
Sweet.
them are tuning in right now. And so, man, I just really wanted to have you on today so that you could share some of your secrets and tips and so forth. And let's see if we can get some of these folks, more folks winning here in the year 2020, man. And I know you're just the guy for that. So again, welcome to the show. Obviously you've been in real estate investing for quite some time now. Can you kind of tell us a little bit how you got started in the industry?
Yeah, for sure. So I was like most people that I would consider to be Generation X, right? So I grew up analog and as a digital adult, right? So that generation was basically told, if you want to be something in the world, you need to go to college, right? That's the only way you're going to make money. College graduates make 10x over people without college degrees, blah, blah, blah. Both my parents were first generation college on their sides of the family. So they were like, you're going to school. And I was like, all right, great. And so I went that route and did that. And when I was in college, I read a book that had just come out. You probably heard about it. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
That book came out, I think, in 1998.
Great book.
I read it in 1999. It was brand new. I had Robert Kiyosaki cassette tapes, right? Like we're aging the vintage here. And when I got out of college, I would drive around. So that was like my first taste in like, ooh, real estate is like the secret, right? Like that's what I felt as a 19-year-old, right? Because that's how old I was in 1999. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I would go when I first got out of school and I was working on construction sites, I would drive around and I would just listen to real estate investing tapes and all that kind of stuff. It was all great and motivational, but there was no like, if you've read Robert Kiyosaki's stuff, it's really good. But it's not like a cookbook, right? Like I go, oh, I'm going to do real estate someday. And everyone's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I have no idea. Right. Like I know what I want to do, but I don't know necessarily how to get there.
Sure.
So anyway, by accident, I flipped a house when I was 22. So I bought a house right out of college. And about 6 months after I bought it, the company I was working for transferred me to Phoenix. So I was living in St. Louis. I bought this house and I was just doing work to it, like sweat equity. I wanted to make it mine. I really had no intention of like, ooh, this will be a good flip, right? And 6 months later, when I got transferred, the company, was like, all right, we're going to move you. And so I put the house up for sale and I went, holy crap. Like I made a bunch of money. And the market wasn't super great. It was 2002. So it was starting to take off, but it wasn't like gangbusters like it did a few years later.
Right.
And in a really short period of time, I made like, I don't know, 30 grand. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. I'm like, I only make like 50 grand a year now.
No doubt.
So I just did this like, the light bulbs kind of started to like go off a little bit. Long story short, I pursued construction in my engineering career for a long time where I felt like I wasn't a good fit for that industry. I wasn't a good fit as an employee. And I just always felt like a square peg in a round hole. And I fought that intention for years. And finally got to the point where I said, okay, enough's enough. But along the way, family and my career was like the primary focus. But in the meantime, I was living and flipping, right? I would buy a house, I'd fix it up while I lived there. Just basically the same thing I was doing in St. Louis. And the market tanked in 2008 when I was in Phoenix. And that was awful. That was my first foray as a landlord. I was moving to Cleveland from Phoenix. The market was starting to implode. And so we knew that we weren't going to be in a good position on the house. So we said, okay, let's find a renter that we can get to just cover the mortgage. Like, I'm not even worried about making money here. Let's just, cover the payments so that we can move. My oldest son was sick. And so we needed to move to Cleveland to go to the Cleveland Clinic, the hospital system. And we attempted to do that. When the market really kind of fully imploded in Phoenix, there was about 80,000 homes that were completely vacant in the valley. And there's a lot of people in Phoenix, but that's still a shit ton of vacant houses.
Mhm.
I'm not, can I swear, or is that bad?
Of course, man.
Oh, okay. I
Oh yeah,
figured,
you're
but
good.
I was like, oh, I just said shit. I don't know if I can say shit.
Shit, I just said shit.
Shit. I just fucked shit.
Don't even worry about it.
No. So anyway, long story short, we got first month's rent and security deposit out of the guy, which luckily was enough to get me a home loan in Cleveland, because they could show that I had income on the other property and, cover the DTI on the mortgage and whatnot. And so anyway, because all the vacancies in Phoenix, that was it. The guy basically moved out, left, and people were renting like 3,000 square foot brand new constructed homes for like $500 a month, because you couldn't get anybody to rent at all. I mean, that was how bad. And the houses were selling for about 45 cents on the dollar in Phoenix at that time. And these were new builds. And you go, this is insanity, right? Like, this is insanity. It doesn't make any, we can't go buy the building materials to build this house for 45 cents a square foot. And that's what they're selling for. And that's when you knew, like, the market is just in big trouble. Right. But anyway, moved to Ohio, and then started doing rentals again, probably in 2011. 2015, left construction completely, did real estate full time, and did the slow exponential growth. We did wholesaling for a while, and that was a fucking disaster. Just because I didn't like it. Not that there's anything wrong with it. And we were good at it. I wanted to grow the portfolio. So I was doing all of these different things. Like, we were wholesaling, and I had this business going, and I had that operation going, and I was trying to do coaching. And eventually you just go, dude, you got way too much going on. You're all over the place. And we said, look, if we really want to grow a real estate portfolio, let's stop doing all of this other stuff and just focus on growing a portfolio. And we will still wholesale. Like, if we get a deal and it doesn't fit what we're trying to do, or if we've got investors and it doesn't fit what they're trying to do, then we can still wholesale deal off, right? We still got a nice buyers list that we converted mostly over to private money, which is something we could talk about too, because that worked out pretty slick. But that's kind of where we are here now. Is we are mainly buy and hold investors. Our entire portfolio is in the state of Ohio. We do have a house flipping operation that we do in the West Valley of LA. And we've got 3 houses going on out there where our sale price point is somewhere between like $1 million and $2 million. So we'll buy them for like $500,000, $750,000, put about 150,000 into them, and then sell them somewhere between $1 million and $2 million.
Nice.
So
that's nice.
Yeah. And we're hands off. We are the money. We're the investor, which is totally fun, of being that true passive, like, bank.
So are you guys then are you JVing your deals right now, or you're not actively out there searching for the deals, they're bringing them to you?
So we've got a partner in LA who is a 40-year vertically integrated contractor. They do everything, right? And they've got the deal flow. They're just looking to expand and ramp up. And in part of that process would be like going out and maybe syndicating money, to create your own fund, something along those lines. But they've been internal. They've never needed outside money. So they needed to prove that they actually had the ability to take and return people's money, right, responsibly, so that they could then go and say, hey, look, we want to go raise $200 million. We're going to do this big time.
Sure.
And so that was kind of where the value came in for us, was like, look, we understand the business and we've got some money. We could partner on this. You really don't need the money, but you need the experience of working with other people's money. And my caveat of doing that deal was, I'm cool being your guinea pig, but I want a deal flow line out there. Like, I don't just want to do one deal and then you go, okay, we made our money and everything was great. We got our experience now that we can take and go get, the next level. I said, that's fine. You can do whatever you want to do. I still want I want deal flow. So
deals.
I want to be able to maintain 1 to 3 deals at a time with you guys for as long as we feel like this is a good relationship, and just continue that down. And if we just want to take the profit and roll it back into future deals, I'm okay with that too. And it's turned into a really nice relationship. And the last time my wife and I were just out there a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, you know, stepping up into apartment complexes and buying apartment buildings and basically doing the same thing. And then just instead of flipping them, you know, just hold them. But they own like 9 complexes in LA. The value of their portfolio is like, I don't know, 40 or 50 million or something. And it's free and clear. Like they don't have debt. And so they don't need money, right? Like they don't need us, but it's great to have that connection and that relationship and stuff, and be able to do it. It's very low risk for us. It's cool.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So kind of take us back to when you first kind of got into real estate investing. I know that you said you kind of started out with wholesaling and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Even just with the investment deals, how did you, I know that right now the deals are kind of brought to you, but back then, how were you looking for your deals, or how did all that how did you get started?
Well, so we did it 2 ways. And I mean, well, 3 ways, I guess, technically. I mean, one, the best way to start for anybody that doesn't have a whole lot of money is driving for dollars, right? I mean, everybody talks about that. Nobody actually does it. I don't believe. Because once you get your first deal, you're like, fuck driving for dollars, man. I'm just going to send out postcards now.
That's right.
But driving for dollars is still a really good way to find deals, especially in nicer areas, right? Like, I'm not saying go drive for dollars in the hood, because you're going to be like, that's a deal, that's a deal, that's a deal, that's a deal, that's a deal. But when I can go on a Sunday morning, right, and I can, like, let's say Starbucks is your thing, and you go through the drive-through and you get a cup of coffee, and then you go, all right, I'm going to pick this neighborhood over here. It's been 3 months since I've been over here, and I'm just going to drive up and down every street in this grid for the next hour and a half. And I'm going to enjoy my coffee. I'll listen to a podcast, and I'm just going to drive. And then as you go, you know, and we're talking about nice neighborhoods, right? Like, you know, higher end stuff that might be nice flips, or, you know, a nice deal that you could wholesale with a nice fee. You know, we're not talking about like $1,000 to $3,000 things here. And, you know, and you'll be like, oh shit, that grass is super long. And every other house in the neighborhood's like perfect, like not just nice, but like perfect. And you go, okay, that one's vacant. Right. And that's something you go, nobody else is driving in here. Nobody else is finding this house. Like it hasn't been vacant long enough so that when you go out and hit listserv, or you hit Real Estate Worldwide, or you hit any of these database sites that pull vacants, you know how long a house has got to be vacant before it is registered vacant. So that's what I tell people when we talk about driving for dollars is you're going to get first crack at all this stuff, because by the time everyone else knows it's vacant, it's been vacant for probably 6, 9, 12 months, you know? And yes, those people might be super motivated, but they're also getting bombarded by every wannabe wholesaler in town that's ever heard of the term or watched the YouTube video, you know?
And I'll tell you something too. I really like the point that you just made about, you know, I think the misconception is, you know, everybody's going straight to the hood and everybody's driving around. And it's just like you said, that one's good, that one's good, that one's good. Well, so is everybody else, you know, and next thing you know, you're on the exact same house. Everybody's tackling. You do all the skip tracing. You're so excited. You've got their name, phone number. Like, oh, here we go. You call them up, and they're like, "You're the 20th fucking person to call me."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you'll get what we used to get all the time on the postcards was we would get a letter back on our postcard, and it would be addressed to us and like 45 other people, and it would say, "These are the properties that we own. This is what we would be willing to sell them for. Everybody that has sent us a postcard in the last 3 months is receiving the same letter. Let us know if you're interested." And I thought that was a great response, right? But at the same time too, you also do realize like anybody that can buy $1,000 course that's going to teach you to go out to listserv and pull a database and send postcards, like we're talking about low hanging fruit, right? And I think that inherently is a little bit of why I was like, you know what, I'm going to get away from wholesaling, because the barrier of entry is super low, right? So you go, hey, if I can pony up a little bit of money for a course or watch some YouTube videos for free, right? Get a YouTube education and then pull a little bit of money together, send out some postcards. I'm a wholesaler, or I can try to be. It just saturates that like the low level of it. Like
That's
there are
right.
people obviously in every market that have got major operations going, and everybody knows, like if you're wholesaling, like I'm in Cleveland, so I know who the 5 or 6 real players are in Cleveland that are wholesaling. So if I need a deal, I'll just call those guys and be like, what do you got? You know, what are you looking for? That kind of thing. But it's same thing in every market. But then you've got probably 300 other people that took the last guru course on how to do it, you know. And we, you know, in full transparency, I still have a guru course. We don't sell it, but I created one because I was like, shit, man, if people are out there selling this, I got way more experience than the people that are actually making money doing this. So why don't I sell it? I've actually got some credibility. And then you get lumped in with everybody else and you're like, well, you're just teaching people how to, you know, and I'm like, you know what, man, fuck that. I don't need that shit. Like I got way more stuff going on than trying to deal with, you know, hustling people for $1,000. And even if you are helping, right? Cause I thought it was helpful, but yeah.
Yeah, man. So, and I'm with you there. You know, obviously, I created the wholesaler cheat code here, and one of my reasons for doing that is because I think a lot of folks these days are just fighting against the grain. You know, the folks that are actively wholesaling. Everybody and their mother is trying to wholesale or invest these days, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of money made in real estate. But the problem is that traditionally folks have just spent too much time fishing in the same ponds. Everybody's
Yes.
for dollars, everybody's sending mailers, everybody's, you know, hitting up probate lists and tax delinquent lists, and all of that stuff works and it's all fine. But it's just like you said earlier, you know, at some point it just becomes an inefficient way to get lots of deals. And sometimes you just get tired of that stuff. And if you can have those guys come to you, boy, it makes your life a little bit easier.
Oh,
right?
for sure. For sure.
And I think you also mentioned something very important that you did at the beginning. That is that you focus on one thing on a specific. Like you didn't went out there trying to get everything on the table and trying to get deals here, deals there. Like you
Oh no, I
focus on
definitely
one
did
thing.
that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that's the natural progression of everybody that goes
Right.
out there, right? I mean, especially in real estate. I I joined Bigger Pockets. You know, everybody's heard of Bigger Pockets at this point, but you know, I did actually get on the call the other day with a dude and I said, well, you know, go to Bigger Pockets. He's like, I've never heard of that. I'm like, whoa, really? Like, wow. But anyway, I joined Bigger Pockets back when they had like 150,000 people. And I started like getting an education out there on how to do stuff. And so then I got like linked to their podcast, right? And their podcast is great. The only complaint I had, which I'm sure a lot of other people have had if they tried to be like an avid listener to a show like that, is if you aren't dialed in and focused on what you want to do, then that show every week is a shiny penny of what you could do. And all of it is with a guest who's crushing it, right? Because they've put the work in, they've put the focus in for years to develop the systems and whatnot. And sometimes they have the, you know, hey, I did this and it worked. Holy shit. But most part, it's people that have put the time in. And so one week you're going, single families is the way to go. I want to buy single families and hold them. The next week you're like, fuck that. I want to flip houses. Flipping houses is the way to go. The next week you're like, multifamily syndications. I want to do that. That sounds amazing. There was a 22-year-old kid that just syndicated 1,000 units and he's a gazillionaire. And every week it's something different. And you go, I want to do it all. And, you know, we're no different. Like I said, I had all these different things going on. We still own a gym. And there's days that I go, this is a distraction, right? And then there's other days where I go, well, the gym, it could be something amazing, but I got this going on. This is a distraction. So even having like 2 major things, and then like we've got other stuff that are projects that we've put on the back burner that I go, I haven't touched that in a year. It's a great idea. I want to do something with that, but I don't want that to pull my focus. So it's a discipline thing because we all fall victim to it, right? It just becomes a discipline thing of being able to say no, and I can't do that. Even though to a lot of people, you're going to be letting them down, or to a lot of people, you're an asshole, or to a lot of people, you're not compassionate, or whatever it would be that by saying no means. But sometimes you really just got to laser focus in that focus and be like, no, man, I got to do this right now. Like, this is the only thing I'm doing.
Awesome,
Yeah, that
man.
makes sense.
Yes. So I want to kind of piggyback on that just a little bit with the focus. You know, again, we've got a pretty large group here, wholesalers and investors, and I believe that, like I said, a lot of folks think that they're wholesalers and investors until you ask them how many deals they've done. And a lot of times that answer ends up being zero. Okay. So you got to back it up just a little bit and say, okay,
Sure.
well, are you really a wholesaler investor? Or is this something you've been thinking about? You've been educating yourself with and whatever else, but you just, for whatever reason, a lot of folks are scared to take that leap into this. And I get it can be intimidating. What advice might you give to some folks that have been on the edge, either just recently, or maybe some of these folks that have been thinking about this for years?
So I get this question a lot because I've been doing these free calls, right? Like I've been doing like an hour a day, not today for whatever reason. I must have had it blocked off or something, but an hour a day, I've just been giving time and go, I'm just going to give it back. No expectation of return. I got nothing to sell anybody. It's just, if you think I can help you, let me get on the phone with you for 20, 30 minutes and let's just chat. And a lot of people are like, I'm just really afraid to take that first deal, or I'm still looking for that first deal. And what it comes back to is fear. We only there's only two decision-making paradigms here. It's either fear or love. That's it. That's it. There's no middle ground. And so anytime you're making a decision of inaction, it's because of fear. And so part of that, a lot of people is, okay, I can get over this fear hump by education. So now I'm just going to educate myself to death and I'm never going to take action, right? It's analysis paralysis, right? That's where Robert Kiyosaki talks about it. But it really becomes, you get into this education spiral where you're like, okay, that was great. I learned all this, but in learning this, I realized that I don't know this, this, and this. Well, before I take action, I should really go learn what these three things are, right? And you've now created justification for the inaction, right? So, and then that's how that education spiral happens and you get kind of stuck in it. But this is the real work, right? Anybody that has realized that I was stuck, I got unstuck. What was the difference? It was right here. You got to get your head right before you can get everything else right. And when you realize that I'm procrastinating or I'm afraid or I'm stuck in analysis paralysis, what you have to realize is, right, wrong, or otherwise, there's people out there every day that are buying deals sight unseen. There's people every day that, based on the numbers of a deal, will pull the trigger and wire money without doing more than just that, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's what you should do. And I'm not saying don't do due diligence, because that's just silly. But there are people that are out there having success without doing months and months and months of analysis paralysis on a deal to get to that point. So you have to understand that if they can do it, I can do it too. And getting out of your own way is the secret sauce, right? Like when you realize that the biggest hurdle for me to the success that I want to have, or the success that I want my team to have, or the businesses to have, or whatever, it all starts with me. I got to get out of my own way, because the speed of my actions is the speed of everything else that follows me.
Wow, that's really good.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And you're right. It is an analysis of, by paralysis sort of thing. Everybody feels like that they've got to be the expert before that they get out there and make something happen. And then you just end up in a spiral and nothing ever happens. And sometimes just the best thing to do is just get out there and baptism by fire, fall on your face a little bit, make some mistakes. But hey, you know what? You learn from those mistakes. And then really that's just the quickest way of,
I think, one piece of advice to anybody that goes, oh man, that's me. Like they're talking about me right now. Partner up. Because right now you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to take the leap. It's not going to work out. You're going to have money and time and all this blah, blah, blah invested, and it's going to fail. So go partner up with somebody that's got experience that you feel like you can trust, that's in the area doing the same kind of deals that you're doing, and go, how can I provide value to you and be part of a deal and have somebody kind of walk me through it, right? And somebody might go, hey, you find a deal that you think looks good, send it to me. I'll vet it for you and I'll walk you through the entire process. And they might take a consultation fee. Maybe you throw them 5% of the deal. Maybe they help raise money if it's something you're going to buy and hold. Who knows? But get somebody that's got experience that you can link up with and have them help you get to that point where you got that first deal done. Because it's like anything else. Once you rip the Band-Aid off, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't too bad, right?
Yeah,
I could do another
right.
one. you know, I always say it's like getting tattooed, right? I get the first one and it's really, really scary and you don't know what to expect and it's going to be on me forever. So it's got to have all this meaning. And then you go get it and then you're like, well, that wasn't bad. Like, let's go get another one. How quickly can I come back? And they're like, oh, well, you should probably wait 2 weeks. And you're like, all right, cool. See you in 2 weeks. And, you know, and then you look like me. So same, but it's the same thing, right? Went in, got my first rental, and years later, you could look like me.
No doubt.
No, but what you're saying,
Okay.
no, what you're saying is completely true. No, and that's the other thing that most people, like you said, they're getting analysis paralysis. They want to know everything before they want to take action. I've been there. I was victim of that bullshit, you know. But it was not until I started taking small steps that it was like, okay, wait a second. This is not that hard after all to understand, you know. And one little step can open your mind like so much. And the other problem that I see is that most people are afraid of asking for that help that you're saying, you know, like finding someone that can help. Like, yeah, probably you're going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's going to be a good way for you to get started and not be afraid of jumping, you know?
And it might, but it might not. You know what I mean? Like you, obviously, if you go on Facebook and you want to find a mentor, then there's going to be a cost involved, right? But if you're going to a local meetup and you meet somebody that's flipping houses and that's what you want to do, and you go, hey, I would really love to do what you're doing. How can I get started? You know, can I come shadow with you guys? Do you need somebody to help do estimates? Like, can I come be part of the team? Are you hiring? And you'd be amazed. Like, there's a lot of people out there that legitimately just go, hey, I would love to help you. Here's how you could plug in. And, you know, like people have come to me and said, hey, could I come and shadow you? And I'm like, well, are you looking for work? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, I'll give you a job. Like, we're hiring. So you want to learn, come on, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think that the partnership's the way to go, especially with that first deal. If you're intimidated and you're a little fearful and you need that extra help, partner with somebody. For the folks that are listening in, you know, if you feel like that's you, I know I'm happy to partner with some folks. I'm sure that you wouldn't mind having a few extra deals thrown your way.
For sure.
You know,
For sure.
so, you know, for the folks that are listening that are looking for that first deal or even your first, you know, help with your first few, know that there's folks that are here to help you guys win. And we love doing deals too. You know, granted, you know, we want a little bit of a piece of the pie too, you know, but you know, if we're in a situation where we can all win, you know, that's really the name of the game. And you know, we really want to create as many winners as possible, you know, in this year 2020. You know, I think that there's plenty of houses out there. There's no shortage of that. There's no shortage of deals. You know, there is a shortage of action takers, though. You know what I mean? And so
for sure.
We can get going.
It's amazing. You know, I brought up the bigger pockets thing. It's amazing to go have people reach out to me that go, man, I interacted with you, or I met you at a conference at a thing, you know, we met up on Bigger Pockets, and, you know, and you go, oh yeah, I remember. And we were both looking for our first deal, you know, and you go, how's it going? Like, what do you got going on? They're like, well, I'm still looking for that first deal. And it's like, bro, that was like 6 years ago. Like, there's no way, you know? But that's exactly it. We get in our own way and we give our, you know, and we start to tell ourselves all these limiting beliefs in our head as to why it works for everybody, but it's not going to work for us. Or the best one is when you actually get your first couple deals done, and then the voice starts to go, hey, you can't do that again. Yeah, that was a fluke. And you know, and eventually that voice starts to quiet down as you get a little bit more control over your mind. But that's where it's at, man. That's the real work, in my opinion, is getting your mind right.
I agree. Speaking of getting your mind right, I know that you've written a few books. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or, you know, what you're about and how it might be able to help folks?
Yeah. So the first one I did is actually like almost 3 years old now, which is crazy how fast that time has gone. But that was Man on Fire. That was basically like my story, kind of what I told you guys at the beginning in a nutshell of like, I felt like I had all this momentum and then I became an employee and it like crashed. And then how do I get this back? And then going through all of the, you know, trials of life and that kind of stuff, to the point where it was like, okay, here's where I'm at. Things are going great. What have I learned? And so it's not a real estate investing book, but I do tell people like it is my journey. And I do talk about real estate through there, but it's more Kiyosaki-esque from the standpoint that like, I'm going to motivate you that you're going to leave reading my book going like, hey, I think Matt's a cool dude. I think real estate's a great way to grow wealth. Let's go learn how to do that. Right. It's not going to be the cookbook of, this. Right now, my editor's got the cookbook. So we're calling it Wholesaling Secrets of a Real Estate Rebel. Right. Obviously a little bit of a spin on Chet's book from the sales standpoint, but it really is the step-by-step. Like, I will take you through, like I said, we used to wholesale. We were doing, I don't know, 10, 15 deals a month on average, and 6 figures a month as wholesalers. And then when we really kind of went away from that, I said, hey, this will be a great book. Let's just take our whole entire process and we'll just map it out. And we'll give real world examples, and I can give anecdotes of like, don't do this. Here's why you do this. Here's why this makes sense to have in your contract. Here's when it doesn't. Obviously, I'm not an attorney. Go get one of those. But it's like step by step of here's how you find the deals. Here's how you market for them. Here's how you talk to sellers. Here's how you talk to buyers. Here's how you grow buyers list. If you want to get into apartment, if you want to syndicate, here's how you go from there with a wholesaling fundamental background. Because I honestly do believe wholesaling is the foundational piece for real estate investing in general, right? Sure. I mean, it gives you that foundational knowledge of buy low, sell high, right? But it gives you transactional experience in real estate, even if you're not necessarily the seller or the buyer. You get more, obviously, if you're doing double closing things, but it gives you that fundamental piece, and it gets you the experience of how do I look at real estate? How do I analyze deals? How do I communicate with people? How do I deal with all of the different processes and pieces involved in a transaction? So when I'm ready to take that step up and say, okay, I'm going to own a rental, or I'm going to flip a house myself, or whatever it would be, you don't have to worry about like, well, what happens next at the title company, guys? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you already know how this works. You understand the process. There's that fundamental experience that I don't need to learn again because I've already got it.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure a lot of people would like to get that book, man.
So it's hopefully in the next 30 days, we'll have it out and ready to go. We should, I should have had something prepared so I could be like, go here and sign up for more info. But yeah, we'll post it, and we'll let you guys know too, so you guys can help.
Yeah, so we can post it here in our group.
Sure yeah,
people can order your book because it sounds like it can help, and it will change a lot of people's lives, and maybe
and that's the cool thing, I think, for books and for like YouTube, and I know I said a YouTube education. I really do honestly believe you can learn almost anything these days on YouTube. Like not brain surgery and shit like that, but like how to wholesale for sure. How to, some fundamental stuff when it comes to real estate for sure. So if somebody can spend, a few bucks and get a book and go through it, and it really does kind of give you that process, if nothing other than giving you the comfort level of going, okay, now I understand the fundamentals better, and I only had to spend like $10, $20, then there's a ton of value in that. Right.
I agree.
Yeah. And if you cannot spend even that, I mean, probably you're in the wrong business.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. Well, and then, so 2 other books that I was a part of, one was a cool book called My Hero. My Reason, My Hero. And I wrote a chapter in that book, and so there's about 25 entrepreneurs that each wrote a chapter, but they wrote it with their kids. So I wrote it from the standpoint of like, what have I learned for my children as being an entrepreneur, and what lessons have I tried to teach them? And then each of the kids got interviewed and got to talk about like a lesson that they've learned from their parent, the entrepreneur, that as an 8-year-old, here's my perspective of, an entrepreneurial lesson that I learned from my parent. And the neat part of the project was at the end, it did get bestseller status in 2 categories, parenting and something else. And all of the kids all got bestseller credit. So we got awesome. All the kids are all listed on the credits, so there's like, there's probably 50 authors or something that are tied to that book because of the chapters and whatnot. But, like my son, my 2 oldest kids are 10 and 12. They're technically best-selling authors, and they can, they can use that forever. Cool. It's pretty neat. And then the other one was a book all on entrepreneurship. And ironically, it was written all by academics. And I wrote 1 chapter in it, and I was the only one. So everybody that wrote the chapter has a terminal degree. So everybody's Dr. So-and-so. And I'm the only one that was not stationed as a faculty or staff in higher education. I've done that. And so that was why I was invited to the book. But I took a completely different spin on how the fuck can we teach entrepreneurship in college by people that have never been entrepreneurs. And the best thing, if you want to go learn about entrepreneurship, put this book down and go start a business. Like, that was kind of my take on it, because and that's what my degree's in, right? So I have a PhD in business. It's actually a doctor of business administration. It's more like, I could get a theory of medicine, or I could go be an MD. So I could get a theory of business, or I could go actually practice being a business owner. So that was what I did, right? And then when I went and started a business, I went, wow, they don't teach you any of this in school. This is awesome. And that was a little bit of a frustration for me, was I'm like, I'm Dr. Business. Like, this should be no big deal. And yet there's all this stuff that you don't know. And that was really where I kind of became jaded. And I was like, you know what? Fuck higher ed. I'm going to leave this. I can't stand the bureaucracy and the bullshit. And you talk about, everything's pay to play in higher ed, which it is in every other industry too. Like, we could talk about real estate the same way. Like, going to a conference, you've got to pay to get on stage and speak. Well, you're like, what? Like, I've got this research and I'm going to go and present to your audience. And they're like, yeah, it's this much money to speak. And they're like, well, we got to weed out the speaker somehow. And what you realize is, really the only person that the person putting the event on is the one really making the money, because the speakers are all paying to speak and the people attending are all paying to attend. And then you realize how silly it is when you go, wait, the people that are paying to attend believe that the people putting the event on are putting the best people in front of me possible for this subject matter. That's really not the case. These are the people that were willing to pony up money to pay and speak in front of me, which means they most likely have some kind of an agenda that they're willing to pay to get on stage, so that they can then somehow recoup their money in selling books, or because a lot of these things with the academic space, like, they're selling textbooks, right? So they're trying to get their $800 textbook into UCLA, so that the engineering department then goes and pays them $40,000 a year for textbooks, right? That's the residual hustle in higher ed, is textbooks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, man. I'll tell you something that you mentioned just a minute ago is, about being a family man, having a family, having kids and so forth. I think a lot of the folks that are listening right now are, that have something similar going on, where, they're busy with their kids' lives, and they've got these, soccer games and basketball games, all this other events and stuff to go on. How do you manage that, being a family man and being a businessman at the same time?
Dude, it's hard. I mean, I don't even want to like sugarcoat it. I think the only way that it is possible is a complete integration, right? So, like, this is work, this is home life. It's got to become like this. And everybody in the household's got to get on board with that and be your support system and understand that this is the way it is. Because if they don't, and for people that are listening on the podcast, they'll be like, what is he talking about? I'm like interweaving my hands together to kind of like mesh the two. Like, home and work have to be interweaved and meshed together. When my wife left nursing, she's a nurse practitioner. When she left medicine and came into our business full time, like, things dramatically changed. All of a sudden, it was like, I wasn't the only one on my device at 9:00 at night, right? Like, where before, she would be like, can you put your phone down? Now I'm like, dude, babe, really? Can you put your phone down? Like, and it's that kind of a thing where you understand now. Or like, I'll come home and I'm all stressed out because of what's going on with a deal or whatever. And she'll be like, I totally get it. I know what you got going on. Right. So there's that, like, communication is better. It's not as, there's more compassion on what are you actually doing. And I'm not saying the only answer here is work with your spouse, because that's not it. But what I am saying is, you've got to, and if you're not, you've really got to make sure everybody's on board, but you've got to time block the shit out of your day. Like, and there's nothing sexy about it whatsoever. And it takes an extremely high level of discipline, because when your calendar tells you it's time to stop doing whatever you're doing and go do something different, you've got to have enough discipline to go, okay, I got to put the pencil down. I got to go over here and I got to do this now, even though you might be right in the middle of something. And I'm not saying you don't go, okay, I'll stop this in 10 minutes when I get to a good stopping point. But to have that discipline of saying, okay, this is how much time I've allowed myself, because if I want to achieve all of these big goals, it's all got to fit into this teeny tiny space. And that's really where it breaks down as you go. And when you go, I want my goals to happen faster. Well, you might have too much on your plate, and it's time to simplify, because you realize stuff's got to happen at a faster pace than what you have time to allow it for. So it's a constant dynamic of talking with the family, making sure that everybody's schedules are synced and what everybody has going on. And then as the entrepreneur, being able to say, here's how much work I have. I've got to be able to schedule my time in and around everything else. Like, you almost have to become fluid from the standpoint that the rocks are like, this is what the kids have going on, right? This is what my spouse has going on. This is like a social event that we've got to go to together. Okay, so now my time is more liquid of, I might have to get up on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4:00 in the morning so that I can start work at 6:30, so that by 9:00 I'm free, right? And I've got my morning routine and my hours done, and my major work items are done for the day, because I know this day is going to suck the rest of my time out, and I'm not going to get anything else done. So you have to be, as entrepreneurs, right? We're the ones that are reading all the books. We're going to all the seminars. We're doing all this professional development. So we have to be the ones setting the bar, if for no other person than ourselves, right? And again, it comes back to that mental toughness, or that mental discipline, to be able to say, this is what I need to do this week, or this is what I need to do tomorrow. I look at my calendar and I got something at 9:00. Well, nothing's going to happen after 9. I know that. So I've got to get all my stuff done before then. Well, I got to set an alarm for 3:30. Well, that fucking blows. Well, do you want to get it done or not? And then it just becomes, and it's always you versus you. I mean, the only person you're ultimately letting down is you. And sometimes it is what it is, right? You're never going to live up. If you set the bar high enough, you're always going to fail on some things. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps kind of give some clarity. It's tough, but
it does.
Schedule it.
And I can relate a lot. I can relate a lot, because before my wife finally jumped all in into the real estate, she couldn't understand why I was always busy, or like you said, on the phone and all that stuff. But then once she got into it and started her own business, and then she started like using a calendar and holding herself accountable, like everything changed. Like now I'm the one telling her, okay, get the fuck out of the phone, because we need to go to bed, because we need to be disciplined with our time. And it's nice, when you involve your family, it really helps, because like we share our calendars, right? So if she updates something in her calendar, I get a notification. So that kind of like helps me also like reminder her when she's distracted, like, hey, listen, your calendar says this, get your ass to work, or time to rest, or what, we need to do our meal prep right now on Sunday, or whatever it is, so it is true, and it really helps a lot.
No doubt.
One neat thing, and I'll wrap up this question, I guess, with this thought. We had started going down the path of creating a family office, right? Like the legal structure for, a family's wealth preservation and that kind of stuff. And the talking heads say, if you think you're going to have a net worth of over 25 million at some point in time, you probably should, consider doing a family office if you've got heirs and that kind of thing. And I've got 5 kids. So it's like, all right, let's look at this. The neat thing that happened was, as we started aligning ourselves in the family office structure and thought process, it involves bringing the kids in at a very, very early and young age, and everything got easier. Everything just aligned and got simpler, and we could talk to the kids about what we're doing and about, what our businesses are and how we're building wealth and all this kind of stuff. And we started the foundation, which is teaching them about giving and gratitude and all that kind of stuff. But it really does help with the alignment, and it helps with that integration too, because you can talk to the kids at dinner about, here's what's going on with everything that we've got going on. And it's still family time, and you're still having conversations, but you're also talking about work, and you're getting them comfortable with concepts and conversations. Like, I could bring my 12-year-old in right now, and I'd be like, dude, there's 2 people in this world. He'd be like, business owners and employees. And I'd be like, what do employees do? They trade their time for money. What do business owners do? They trade their money for time. I have beat that into my children. Like, my oldest 3 will, they understand that. My oldest one just said, I want to be homeschooled. He said, I think that will allow me to have a schedule to where I have to learn to be disciplined like you are with your schedule. And I'll be able to take, collectively we'll be able to take charge of his education. And also we want to be able to travel more too. So getting out of the formal school system helps with that. But he's really excited about it. He's like, this is what I want to do. And he's 12. And he's like, I think this would be a
Man, that's
great
cool.
thing. And I'm like, this is awesome, man. This is, we've been wanting that to naturally happen, and it kind of has. So it's neat.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's impressive. I think you have
Thanks.
shared
Well,
a
it just
lot of
kind of
good
happened
information.
organically.
Yeah.
It just, and I think over the years, that's the thing, right? Like you just take consistent action over time, and you just do little things here and there, and you hear about a concept and you go, well, let's look into this. And then you whittle away at it. And then, people can look at now and go, dude, you got all this going on. And it's like, yeah, man, but it was one step at a time, like every day, one step at a time. And some days it was 3 steps forward and 4 steps back. Some days it was 1 step forward and 4 steps back. Some days it was like a whole jump forward, but you just got to keep plowing away at it. And eventually, the stuff starts to stack up.
That's right, man. Just got to trust the process.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. Do we have any questions, I guess, for Matt there in the group?
Not so far. No, we don't have any questions right now.
Well, let me
So
ask you this, Matt, because I know that you're kind of crunched for time, and we sure appreciate you coming on today, and we want to let you get back to the things that you've got to take care of as well. Let me ask you this though, before we let you go, is what is one piece of advice that you think might be beneficial to this group and that might help them the most with even the folks that are already in this and that are already winning at it and doing great, or maybe have hit a plateau, or the folks that are just looking to get into this? Is there anything that you could say or do that might motivate them to get to that next level and really crush 2020?
Yeah. Well, this might be a little unorthodox, but I'm gonna put it out there. I know some really dumb fucking people in real estate investing, like really dumb, like dumb, and they are doing really, really well.
Me too.
Right. So there is social proof out there that it can be done by everybody, anybody. It just matters if you want to get out of your own way and do the work. And if you want to get out of your own way and you want to do the work, then you're going to have success. So that would be my biggest piece of advice to you: is the reason why you aren't where you want to be right now starts right in between your ears. And the quicker you can get out of your own way, the faster you will be at the destination that you believe that you want to be at.
Awesome, man. That really makes sense. Well, I'd really like to thank you for coming on again today, man. You've
for sure
shared a wealth of value and knowledge with our group, man. We want to appreciate you, or thank you again for being a part of this. And man, hopefully one day we can have you on again, man. It's been a pleasure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we can make another show, especially for when you launch your book. That would be nice to help.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would really appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if people want to reach out to me, my website's drmattmotil.com. I'm all over social media too, so people can find me out there. But if they want more information on the book or sign up to the list so that they get it when it comes out, they can hit up the website, drmattmotil.com. And then
Sweet, man.
Yeah, my YouTube's drmattmotil.tv.
Sweet.
So, and that'll just take them right to the YouTube channel.
We are gonna post it on the comments after we finish the live video, so that way people can find you and get in touch with you, man. Yeah, thank you so much, man. That piece of advice.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. This has been fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we should plan another one for your book, man. That would be nice because
when we got a date, I'll hit you guys up and we can try to plan something. That'd be cool.
Sounds
awesome,
good,
man. Sounds great.
Well, thanks again, man. You have a good one.
Awesome.
We appreciate you, and go crush 2020, man. Look forward to seeing your book.
Yeah, for sure. You guys too.
All right,
Thanks.
man.
Okay, man. Thank you guys for watching.